on this computer. And welcome to season 2, episode 1 of the QCast. And my guest, I'm going to go back to the episode 1, season 1 guest, and that is Ron Rose, the head coach of the Illinois Wesleyan Titans. Coach Rose, you know, you were the first ever guest on the QCast, and we're going to kick off season 2 with you. That's got to be one of the biggest honors of your coaching career.
I tell you what, I might make a certificate of it. Who knew the QCast was going to be so popular? I mean, it was something in season 1, so it's going to be a tough boat to follow season 2 here.
I agree, but we're gonna make season 2 great. I'm excited to get going. It's unbelievable. We're here. You're in your office.
Yes.
We just talked off air about there's some remodeling going on, and you were asking me about the light coming in and if your forehead is supposed to be that shiny, but I think it's all good and you look great.
Well, the forehead keeps getting a little bigger every year, Q, so I didn't want to highlight it necessarily.
And you got a little fixer up or renovation going on in the office there. Is that what's happening? We got some wallpaper has come down or something?
Yeah, it's a few of the offices here in the athletic department are getting renovated, getting painted, getting some furniture in here, new whiteboard, big screen TV to watch films. So a lot of exciting stuff, not to mention the start of the season tomorrow, but we're ready to get going here.
Yeah, let's just talk about that. As here we are, Christmas Eve kind of feeling. So tomorrow, Division III teams can start practice. Technically, they can start tonight at midnight. I know a few that are. And you guys are going to get this thing going at 9 a.m. tomorrow. But just your general thoughts on the eve of the 21-22 season here.
You know, it's one of the things I love about my job is, you know, you have beginnings and ends and the excitement that is generated with that. You know, you have the excitement of the new school year. And then, you know, that off-season, I think we've been at school now 7 weeks and our guys are ready. I mean, it's really a nice length of time in terms of getting your feet on the ground and school started. And, you know, now we're passing out practice jerseys and it's always an exciting time. We'll go, you know, we'll have 2 left feet tomorrow and going 100 miles an hour, making a lot of mistakes, but it's all because of the excitement and enthusiasm to get going.
You know, we talked right after the season ended last year. It was the last time we did one of these, and it was March 15th. You know, it's amazing. It's been 7 months, and here we are at the eve of a new season. Just curious, what was the off season like in general for you and the Titans?
Well, you know, the one thing is encouraging is we're getting back to normal. You know, you think of where we were at 7 months ago and what all we dealt with the previous year or so, and we've slowly but surely making steps towards getting back to the way the world was 2 years ago. And it's been more normal. We're still taking precautions but at the same time, we have not, our guys last year didn't get to play open gym in the fall. Right. Our guys gotten to do that. We've had a normal fall for the most part. So that's been really good in terms of, you know, the summer. This group has been incredible. They came back to school incredibly fit. We've got some, I guess I'd call them fitness fanatics. I mean, they eat right. They take care of themselves. They love the weight room. You know, you can always tell some guys love the process. They love working out. They love getting better. And we have several of those guys. A lot of our guys, maybe the majority, are that way. And so they came back, and all those guys that left for the summer came back in great shape. And it's really encouraging. You know, it's always good to be a coach when they infuse energy into you as a coach, as opposed to the coach feeling like you got to infuse energy into the players. And I think we've got a group that loves to play and can't wait to get started tomorrow.
Yeah, you guys had a really big and physical team last year, and that's a little different. Some of the muscle mass from watching 1988 Titan films. You know, I'm talking about Mark Edmondson. I mean, Paul Peterson. Is Paul Peterson up there in that old Fred Young weight room? I'm not sure he was looking at the videos, right?
the reality is Pete's in better shape today than he was in '88. But he's not eating
Absolutely.
pizza at midnight anymore. So there's just it's a different world. I mean, we didn't lift weights. We played a lot, but we never lifted. These guys have grown up with it. It's an expectation. It's something they enjoy, and this group embraces it. It's our graduate assistant coach Justin Bush has kind of been in charge of getting these guys physically ready to go for practice tomorrow. Has done a great job, and we've got our upperclassmen have kind of led the charge, and the young guys have jumped in, and it's always fun to see, especially freshmen come back as sophomores. When you come in as a freshman, sometimes you don't realize exactly how hard you have to work, or what you have to do to be a college basketball player, and watching all these guys came back, things that we talked about after the season. Hey, I'd like to see trim down. I'd like to see you get stronger. I'd like to, they did it. And so I how it relates to the court, we'll see in time, but I couldn't be more impressed with this group in terms of just their approach in the off season.
When you look back at last year, what a strange season that was. And I think we'll look back on that 10, 20, 30 years from now and just shake our heads at how strange that season was. But on the other token, it was such a great season for your program. I mean, you finish 8-1, you win the CCIW championship in that big game at Wheaton, which was with nobody in the gym. It was an amazing game to watch. It was incredibly intense. Looking back, what were your takeaways from that really strange season last year that was impacted by COVID?
I've said this. I think we made the most of the opportunities that were given to us, and I feel very fortunate that I get to coach the type of young men I do. They like each other. They're friends. I think if you didn't like each other's, you didn't have the team chemistry or the relationships we did, you could have been at each other's throats last year, because we had 7 straight weeks of practice, no games. Well, it's hard to do that when you're beating on the same guys every day. But our guys, I think because of the uncertainty, were we going to get to play? Weren't we going to get to play? Last year's group just, hey, whatever we get, we're going to embrace. And I've said it, we played 9 games. It was like 9 first games of the season. It was just exciting to play. And we talked about this. It was really, it's hard to play at a high level every time when you had so many breaks between games, but that group really, really did that. It was smart, well prepared, and it was a fun year. We certainly are going to miss the 4 seniors from last year's team. I thought they had great attitudes about it. They're the ones who really, their senior year was robbed from them in terms of the normality of it. And they rolled with the punches and really set the tone for everybody.
And then, as the season's playing out, you guys are trying to get into recruiting in a normal fashion, which was difficult last year. Recruiting was totally different. But I mean, you came out of there with an incredible recruiting class. I believe you have 8 freshmen and 1 junior transfer, Division II transfer. And we're too early here to get into specific names and who has the highest expectations and all that, but just talk a little bit about that newcomer group that you have that's extremely talented.
Yeah, you never know from year to year. You're really just trying to find the right fits to Illinois Wesleyan University, the right fits to our program. And in some years it's 4 guys, some years like last year there were more. And so I attribute it to, we weren't able to get out to high school games, so there was less access to me. So I guess maybe the less they get to know me, the better recruiting we'll do. But the young men we brought in are Illinois Wesleyan type people, students, players, and they're just the right fit. And it came together in such a way I couldn't be more pleased. We're super excited about Landon Wolf, the transfer coming in, as well as our 8 freshmen, and it's a great group. They've joined the program and become part of it immediately. They're a group that is it's unique. They've got some charisma. They've got some basketball ability. I haven't gotten to coach them, because tomorrow being the first day of practice, so I can't wait to get in there and get to work with them. But it certainly is bodes well for the future of Titan basketball with that.
Yeah, I think as the season plays out, Titan fans will want to keep an eye on that group of newcomers. I would bet on a couple of them kind of cracking things here. So we'll see how that plays out in a few weeks. But the great thing here is, you return a ton. When you think of, you've got 4 of 5 starters back, 8 of your top 10, I believe, as I see it. Now, you did lose 4 very important seniors to your program. You lost Doug Wallen, Charlie Bear, Colin Chaney, and Grant Wolf. But before we talk about returners, I know that you feel that you lost a ton with those 4 guys that departed.
Oh, we did. And they were culture guys. They were program guys. You look at Doug Wallen and Charlie Bear were all conference performers last season. Colin Chaney's a young man that was a great program guy, came to practice every day, guy you could count on, got better every year. Grant Wolf's career was cut short. He was clearly an all-conference caliber point guard for us, but even in his injury, he had great value in terms of his leadership and became a student assistant. So we do lose a lot. And, what you also think about just the how hard those guys play. I think that is the thing that you underestimate is, and I love like a guy like Doug Wallen, when the light bulb turned on in terms of how hard you got to play to become a good player, you could see it. You could see it on the floor in his performance. And so we do have a lot to replace those guys. A thing that jumps out immediately is on the rebounding.
Right.
I think we have several guys that can do that, but there's a lot of rebounds out there that those guys snagged last year.
Yeah, I think there's a sense from some nationally that your team, quote, returns everybody. It's really not the case. Those, especially Charlie Bear and Doug Wallen, they were on the floor the most of that group last year. And Charlie Bear, from just a rebounding and physical presence standpoint, and Doug Wallen, I'm not sure you win the Wheaton game without Doug Wallen. He made some big shots in the second half down the stretch. Now, the good thing is you have a ton of talent that has the chance to step into those roles. Let's just talk about some of the returning guys here. I guess, the headliner you'd have to say is your returning All-American, Matt Leritz, 6'7" guy that you play at the 4 or the 5. He averaged 16 points and 10 rebounds last year, averaged a double-double. He shot 60% from the field, and he's a guy that's not shooting everything right at the basket. He takes a ton of 3-pointers and 15-foot jump shots. You got to be excited coming into a year with a stud like Matt Leritz.
Well, he's such a tough guard because you have to put a big physical guy on him because he's so good on the low block. He's got great footwork. He can score with the jump hook with either hand, except he can step out and shoot the 3. And so that's such a luxury to have a post player that can space the floor, because now when Matt goes behind the arc, you got to go with him or he's gonna be able to hurt you out there, which then creates driving lanes and cutting lanes for other players. So it's been fun having a player with his versatility, because it allows you to try to become a little more creative offensively. And how do you utilize a guy like that? And then everybody else is better because of the attention that he's going to have to get. He's going to be a guy that when you go on the block, you're going to have to make a decision, other coaches, do we double him? Or and if we do, now, we've got lots of other offensive weapons out there. They're going to be attacking you. Or if we don't, are you really going to go leave your guy one-on-one with them? So I think that's always a great situation to have a guy that commands that much attention.
So much around him as well. And I guess, I would start that with Pete Lambesis. And Pete last year, 9 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. I thought offensively, Pete had a really strange year last year. He did not shoot the ball well at all. And you could tell that, as the season went on, he probably was getting a little frustrated offensively. But here's a guy that locks up every opposing guard that he is assigned to. So you look at last year, I thought he had a fantastic year, and clearly you don't win the league without Pete. So coming into this year, what are you looking for from Pete Lambesis?
Well, Pete's always going to give an honest effort out there, and whether he scores or doesn't score, he can impact the game with his defense. Like you said, at 6'4" and athletic, he can guard a variety of guys, and that's a luxury to have. He can guard a point guard. He can slide over and could even probably an undersized four. He has that flexibility and strong, and that's his mindset. It starts on defense on that end, but on the offensive end, he didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but we're not, a guy who can make shots, I don't ever worry about, because that's just the ebb and flow of the season. And last year there wasn't a whole lot of ebb and flow. It was, you never had a chance to get into a rhythm. And so I'm not worried about that from a year ago. I don't think Pete's worried about it. What's great is I think his mindset shown through last year is he could have a tough game offensively, but we won, and he's as happy as anybody. And so he's a guy that is always going to help your team win, and the guy that makes coaches look good because he's going to bring that intensity and that focus each night.
And boy, his physical transformation last year was shocking to me from afar watching video streams. I mean, I literally didn't recognize him because of how big he became in the shoulders and the arm. I mean, talk about a guy who hit the weight room last year, and I don't know what shape he's come back in this year, but that was pretty crazy.
Better shape. I mean, he is one that just embraced improving his body and his athleticism, and I think you're gonna be pleasantly surprised, and a lot of it isn't just bulk, but the best way I can say is we just have a fit team, and Pete is one of those guys. He's incredibly fit. He watches what he eats, and he's a better athlete in better shape than he was a year ago.
See, that's new school Titans right there. My era Titans. I'm not sure anyone's watching what they're eating. We can get into that off the air at some point, but this is a new wave situation that we have
completely. Here. It makes me feel guilty because I think, man, I could have been a lot better had I had these guys' mindset.
And we'll have to figure out if Pete is going to go back to the headband for this season. I personally hope he does. I thought it was a great look, but I guess we'll see, right?
You don't sell that. No, don't start selling that. Last year is a pandemic. We let pandemic hair, the whole pandemic look go. We're just happy. We're hoping we get back to some of the fundamental haircuts, that Pete had before. He's looking good, looking sharp.
Okay. Well, just, I hadn't seen that much hair flop since Chris Simich.
It's CEO Pete is back.
Okay. Well, either way, I support it is what I'm going to say. Another guy that you have that is ridiculously talented at his position is your point guard, Luke Yoder. Luke was a big time recruit for you, had higher level opportunities. He is such a steady presence. He's a guy that could score if he needed to, but his ability to distribute, to guard, what a luxury to have Luke Yoder returning here at the point.
Yeah, he's just a dog out there, bulldog. He's going to guard every possession, every bounce, every pass. He's focused in the moment and he just makes the right basketball play more times than not. And he's just as rock solid a point guard as you're ever going to want. A lot of people don't know what he went through last year. At this time a year ago, he's in both casts. He broke both wrists, had surgery on both of them. He couldn't hardly shoot last year. Luke's the guy, and we've got a lot of these guys. I just call them hoopers. We got a bunch of hoopers, guys that love to play ball. And Luke's one of them. He loves to play, but he couldn't get shots up because it hurt his wrist too much. And so what's great is he's 100%. He's healthy. He can get out and get extra shots up now. He went through the year and he couldn't do any of that because his wrist got too sore. So I give him a lot of credit for battling through a lot of pain and last year and and could still find a way to contribute in a big way. But it's exciting to get him back 100% this year.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, he's a guy that you have several of these, but he's a guy that I think towards the middle of the season, Titan fans could be saying, well, maybe that's the best player on the team. I mean, Luke Yoder has potential to be a superstar. He may be more because of the other guys around him. He may not have the stats to catch everyone's attention, but he is one of the best players on this team. You've got kind of interchangeable shooting guards that are very different players. And you started different guys at different times, but let's start with Cory Noe, who I thought had a fantastic season. He shot 42% from three, averaged 10 points a game. What a steady, smart presence out there on the perimeter in Cory Noe.
He's a fierce competitor, and Cory just keeps getting better. He came in and he wasn't strong enough to compete as a freshman, and he got a lot of experience as a sophomore. He's just gotten better every year, and he physically has developed every year. And you're right, he's just steady. He can, every team needs some tough shot makers. You're not always, the offense isn't always going to result in a wide open shot, where sometimes against really good teams, you got to have a guy be able to go get a bucket. And Cory's one of those guys. He can go get you a bucket. And so, yeah, he got better. And he's another guy that's going to be locked in. He's going to be in the right spot defensively each time. He's a guy that you just really trust is going to make the right play. He understands what we're trying to get accomplished. And we've seen Cory's confidence just growing each year, and I think he's going to have a terrific season for us.
And if you look at the last two conference tournaments and the plays he's made down the stretch in both of those, he's a guy, he is a fearless player, a guy that, like you said, takes tough shots in big moments. And so you have that kind of guy on the floor. And then Keondre Schumacher, who is a totally different kind of guard, but just lightning fast. Keondre shot 55% from three last year. He is an elite shooter. He's got to be one of the fastest guys in Division III. So what a weapon, whether you start Keondre or you bring him off the bench, to have on your club here.
And we've played those guys together at times, and then, rotate them at the two, but it does give you a lot of flexibility. Keondre, like you said, he can get rolling. He can shoot it. When he gets cooking, man, when the ball's released, you think it's going in, and you're right. And I think Keondre is a guy that the more comfortable he feels, the better he plays. And you can just see him. I thought there were times where you could see he kind of exhaled and relaxed and played. I thought he really pressed his first year, just trying to. It's hard transferring, and I did it myself. It's hard because you're trying to fit in. And so you kind of, sometimes you can your individual ability can get lost in that because of your desire to fit in. And I think the more comfortable Keondre gets and just cuts it loose, the better he plays. And you're right, when you combine the speed and the skill, especially shooting the ball, there's not a lot of guys that can do that at our level.
Yeah, just a good sign of the depth of the program here is, you've got a Division I transfer, a guy that was on scholarship at Winthrop, who's, either a starter or your sixth man, one of the two. What a great sign of the depth of the program. Now there's several other guys that are returning as well. And let's just say, after the ones I just mentioned, there's a boatload of talent here that's returning. I'm interested if you have a sense, you've got an open starting spot clearly at one of the post spots in terms of last year versus this year. There's an opening there that has to be filled. Is there any sense from your standpoint yet, Rod, of who's competing for that post spot, or is it just too early to even say?
Well, it's too early to say. We're going to have to get into what I do think is true is we can go a lot of directions with our lineup. You could slide Matt Leritz to the 4 and play one of the bigs at the 5, and now you go big. You've got Cody Mitchell played there a year ago. Landon Wolf is a guy that's typically played on the perimeter, but is about the same size as Doug Wallen, so he could slide. We've got other guys big wings that could slide over and you go more 4 guards. I think there's just going to be a lot of ways we could go. And, I don't know at what point we'll have to make that decision. It could be based on matchups. It could be at some point every year, you kind of get a feel for what allows you to get to the highest level. And that's kind of one of the conversations we have after a while as a coaching staff. Okay, if we're going to get to our highest level, what lineup gets us there? And to be honest, we could go small, as you meant, we can go big. We've got one of the things I love is I love skilled guys, competitive guys, and versatile guys. And we have a lot of those. And so it gives, from a coaching standpoint, we're going to just have to see which guys get us to that highest level, which guys make us the best team.
Last year you had a freshman that played, and I thought played well, with Ryan Sroka, and he's another like big-bodied guard or wing, right? And so you got to be excited about what Ryan brings here into his sophomore year. A lot of times that development from freshman to sophomore year, some of the biggest you see is he's probably poised to have a really big sophomore season.
He looks great. Ryan, he's one that I mentioned earlier, when you figure out, okay, what's it going to take to be a good player at this level? Ryan really, things we talked about, took it to heart, and he's another guy that loves it. He's a worker. And when you see him, you're gonna say the same thing. Well, that's a big difference from his freshman year. He looks great, and yet we think he'll make a big jump also. And he gives you a lot. He's one of those guys that give you a lot of different direction you can go. Ryan could play the 2 and we could go really big. He can play the 3. He could play the 4. He's got enough size to do that. So he's one of those guys that has that versatility to really make us unique in terms of how we approach matchups.
Yeah, sometimes there's plays where you see something and you're just like, wow, that could be in. I could tell you it was at the east basket of the Shirk Center, but he posted someone up and made a little jump hook last year, and I got to thinking he could play down there. Like if you needed to put him in as a 4, a stretch 4, I think he could. So exciting times ahead for Ryan Sroka. I want to talk about your schedule for a few minutes. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. The CCIW is what it is. Wheaton's going to be nationally ranked, and you have them twice. Elmhurst is going to be nationally ranked, and you have them twice. Not to mention whoever else is great in the league. The Carthages and Augustanas and North Centrals and the whole league. But then you've got this non-conference schedule, which goes Lake Forest, Hope, St. John's or Oshkosh, Alma, Calvin, Chicago, WashU, Mount St. Vincent, and Yeshiva. Now, when the poll comes out, which might be tomorrow, let's just start with Yeshiva. Yeshiva is going to be ranked, I believe, in the top 3 in the country. You're traveling to New York to play. They will be ranked 1, 2, or 3 at the moment of that game. I mean, what a cool matchup to face off with Yeshiva in New York.
I blame you, Bob.
It's my fault.
I personally think you've got some vendetta I don't know when you're trying to get me fired by loading this schedule up. Yeah, suddenly I'm getting emails from Yeshiva. Do you want to play? Bob Quillman. What is going on here? And I fell for it.
Sometimes it just takes a tweet to get something going.
Hey, we're super excited about it. One thing that I remember as a player, and one thing that attracted me to Illinois Wesleyan, is I knew we were going to have a chance to play great competition. And we recruit players who are competitive, that want to play against the best. I would rather go to Yeshiva, who could potentially be on a 50-game win streak. I mean, I think they're 36 right now. And right. I think we're their 14th game or something. Not that I've looked at it yet, but I think those are the numbers. I'd rather do that than play someone that we know we can beat by 30. Our guys don't want to do that. These are experiences that our guys are going to remember. That's what our program is built on. We want to recruit guys that want to play against the best competition, and let's lace them up and go. And we've been doing that as much as and this schedule is psychotic. I mean, and you couldn't do this unless you had a good team. But our guys are excited about it, man. It's going to be really fun. Our fans are going to get to see some high level basketball.
And
but at the
Yeshiva's
same time, I gotta get my Tums ready, because it's not like every night you're going to have to be at your best to have a chance.
No, it's pretty amazing to look at the schedule, and just wrapping up on Yeshiva. They have a All-American in Ryan Terrell, who's the best player in Division III, but they have another All-American that they play at the 5, Gabriel Leifer, and he announced that he's returning. Like, their whole team is returning essentially, and they've got some transfers that have come in. So that game, that is going to be a high-level Division III game, but you've got others. So let's just kind of, you got WashU, the old rival of the Titans in the non-conference, December 19th. Remind me, is that game in St. Louis? It's in St. Louis this year, right?
In St. Louis this year, yeah, we're at WashU.
They announced that Jack Nolan's returning, and if Ryan Terrell's the best player in Division III, Jack Nolan's in the conversation. He's incredible. They're loaded. And so you've got the WashU matchup, which every year is one of the highlights of the Titan season.
For sure. Are you trying to make me nervous here, Bob? But you're right. What has changed the dynamic is the fifth year. Having the extra year of eligibility back in, and if you look up and down our lineup, a lot of the people we're playing have players that are coming back that wouldn't normally be on the roster. The rosters within the CCIW are drastically different than what they would have been, but nationally they are too. And so, it's gonna make for we're gonna be playing grown men. I mean, it's gonna make the level of play even better than what it normally is, and it's usually a super high level. But just the fact of some of the better players in the country are coming back is unique this year.
It's a great point. If you look at like Elmhurst roster, Jake Rohde's back, and he's actually a 6th-year player. Levon Thomas is back, 5th year. That whole group, the seniors from they're all coming back. You could look up and down the CCIW. There's a lot of guys that have come back and used that kind of COVID eligibility year.
Yeah.
Gabriel Leifer at Yeshiva, we just talked about. All of your seniors last year are gone. And so you don't have any of those 5th-year guys. But hey, the good news is you do have a lot of size and talent, but it's a big factor this year. You've got on the schedule, Hope and Calvin. You're playing both of the powers, traditional powers. Now Trine is the favorite there this year, but it's almost like your schedule's so good that Hope and Calvin is like, oh, by the way, but those are 2 of the best programs in the history of Division III.
Elite Division III programs. I mean, if you look up and down, elite Division III programs traditionally and in the top 20 this year. And, the Jack Sigma invite, that's our goal. Let's see if we can get, the teams that are going to be ranked in the top 20. Let's get them in the Shirk Center, and I think it's exciting. I know our guys are excited for the challenge. I hope it helps when we recruit future players. They realize when you come to a program like Illinois Wesleyan, we're going to play the best competition we possibly can. And now you talk to me in January, and there are different philosophies. You can schedule light and try to go 9-0 in the non-conference, or you can. But I remember Coach Bridges always saying, this is going to help us when we get to conference play. Playing this type of schedule, and I believe that's true.
Yeah, the Jack Sigma tournament, which is the inaugural year this year, that will be phenomenal. You play Hope on the first night, and then you get the winner or loser, I guess, of St. John's Oshkosh, right? It's a pure tournament format.
It is.
And what a great field there. Hope, we just talked about, one of the best programs in the history of Division III. You can say the same about the other 2, St. John's and Oshkosh. Oshkosh is still the reigning Division III national champion, right, from a couple of years ago. That is a crazy field. And both of your games, however that plays out, will be against elite teams. So yes, it's really just the non-conference, the conference, special season in terms of like every night out, you've got a great team that you're squaring up against. Just a couple other things before I let you go, as I know you've got a lot going on practice eve here. Your team is going to be ranked pretty darn high in the poll. I would guess that it's going to be in the neighborhood of 4 or 5 or 6, somewhere in there. What does that mean? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Do you want to more lay in the weeds, or what is that high ranking you're going to have? What does that mean?
Well, in all honesty, I never get caught up with that because it comes, it goes, it doesn't really reflect the process that we have to go through to become a good team. And you know this better than anyone, because I don't know if anyone follows the national landscape any closer than you do. What's really difficult is last year, because there wasn't much play outside of conference play. It's hard to really know.
Yeah.
I think we had a really good team last year, but we never got to test ourselves against teams outside of our conference.
Right.
And other people the same way. And so I think it's going to be really interesting here in the beginning weeks of the season of seeing, which teams that we think are going to be really good, which ones are playing really well. And so, and then I know it's coach talk, but our focus is what do we have to do to get ourselves ready to play the best basketball we can? And the polls will take care of themselves. And certainly with our schedule, we're going to find out if we are a top 20 caliber type team, because we're going to play several teams that are. So we're going to be tested. We're going to know really quickly kind of where we're at. And what I love about playing that is we're going to know what we're good at and what we got to get better at. I mean, it's going to really expose any weaknesses that we may have that we know we got to get better at to kind of in the end be the best basketball team we can possibly be. And so the polls, I would rather have the target and have people looking at you, because that means we're doing something right. I mean, I'd always rather have the pressure. Hey, let's be the best. Let's have everyone realize the Titans are here to play. And so I'd always rather be that, but at the same time, I don't get caught up in it. If we're not ranked, it doesn't affect how we go about our business. But, I think it adds excitement to, for our fans and for matchups. And so, and here's what I'd say. I don't follow it, but I'm glad you guys are so committed to it, because it does shine a light on Division III. It does allow us to see across the country who else has good teams, what other programs. And so it does add to the excitement. I think you and I, as we're talking, you can hear the excitement about some of these matchups and some of the games that we get to play. And a big part of it is just understanding who else is good.
And you make a good point about, teams not playing outside the league last year, but some teams didn't even play, like Wash U didn't play a basketball game last year, and right. The NESCAC. So when you look at, Williams and Amherst and the whole league, or most of the UAA, I guess, except Rochester maybe played a couple games, but I don't think Brandeis did. So what a unique year with so many great teams not having even played last year.
Right.
What a bizarre. Now the teams down here in Texas, I mean, heck, they played like 28 games down here in Texas. It's a whole nother, that's another podcast for you, Ron, but it's a whole nother world down here.
I'm staying out of that one.
Yeah. I mean, I got to go to games over there at Texas, Dallas. It was great. So the ball starts bouncing tomorrow morning at 9. Just as you head into that practice tomorrow, what are you thinking?
We're doing something different. We're actually last year, because of COVID, we had to go smaller groups early on. And I like that teaching opportunity so much, the smaller groups, and we went a little slower and felt like we did a better job of teaching. That's actually what we're going to do tomorrow morning with some smaller groups, and we'll come back in the afternoon and have what you'd consider a typical practice. But I head in with guys that, that have been through the program know our staff loves practice. I think it's just such it's where you can really develop relationships. You can see improvement. So I'm just excited to get back on the court and have the whistle and start, it's always the challenge is always trying to get everybody on the same page as quick as possible, since we haven't coached these freshmen yet. So you got an upper class group of junior seniors that you mentioned that have a lot of experience. They're ready to go. I mean, they want to play tomorrow and live, but yet we've got to get everybody else. So the first week is a mad dash to try to get the young guys and the veterans on the same page so that you can play in the same style. So the first few weeks are challenging because you're just trying to get to where you're ready to play a game. And but it's gonna be exciting. I can't wait to see our guys in the practice gear, bright and early, wake them up and get going.
And it's not like you have a ton of time. You play a game in 24 days. So the Titans open Sunday, November 7th at the Shirk Center against a good Lake Forest team. Ron, any final thoughts for, we've got some people around Division III that'll be watching this, certainly Titan fans. Final thoughts as you prepare for the 21-22 journey.
Well, here's what I'd say. I am so excited fans can be back. And this, our home games, there's a Titan basketball community. I mean, that you get to see people at the home games and they're not fans, they're friends. I mean, you get together and I missed seeing everybody last year. And so I'm just really excited for college basketball, but selfishly our home games to get our supporters back and see people that I have not had the opportunity to talk to or see since the pandemic started. So I'm really excited just for college basketball to be back.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be a fun year. In any season there's ups and downs but I think there's going to be just a new appreciation for what we get to do, and excited to get started tomorrow.
And are you amazed that you're the dean of the dean of CCIW men's head coaches? Is that kind of crazy?
How did that happen? I used to be considered the young guy, and it's different without Bosco and Gray in the league and Mark. There's an infusion of young guys. So there's a few of us old guys still coaching, but it's amazing how I think this is year 16 for me, how you go from the new guy to you're right, one of the older guys. I think Todd Raridan at North Central has a year or two on me, and then I'm number 2 in terms of tenure. So, but you know what? I've always said this from my year 1. This league is filled with great coaches, and it still is. And everybody works at it, and there's such great pride in the school and the programs and great rivalries. It's great to have a full docket of CCIW play back, and should be highly competitive as usual.
I agree. I can't remember being quite as excited about a Titan season in a long time, and you've had some good ones returning, but this one is right there. So again, Titan fans, Sunday, November 7th, we'll talk to Coach Rose as we approach that game. This was just a little bit of initial thing. We'll definitely do this again before the opener. We'll get into a little more detail, and can't thank you enough, Ron, for your time and making this work. I know that that D3 Hoops Nation will appreciate this.
Well, last year you even mentioned this, that you avoided me. Don't avoid me this year, Q. It should be a fun season.
I was too nervous last year. I was too nervous. This year it's different. Last year I didn't know if games were canceled or not, or who had COVID, or what was going on. So this year, though, I'm ready to roll. And so I'm going to be requesting some interviews with you.
There you go. Love it. And I can't wait to see the rest of the QCast coming up.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That was episode 1, season 2 of the QCast. Ron Rose, thank you so much.